Thabo Mofutsanyane at Arlington, Hope House, and Lentley. And the purpose of these community sessions is to educate community members about a number of gender-related issues and provide legal advice. And we focus on gender equality, gender-based violence, how SAPS is supposed to treat big GBV, how courts are supposed. And the commission has conducted an analysis in these communities where we've had our outreach and legal. Some of these communities are located next to the Lesotho border, in particular Hope House. The crime rate is high, caused by the Basotho who would cross into South Africa, commit crime, and go back to Lesotho. The crimes they commit include rape and robberies. And they target, in the main, households headed by the vulnerable within communities, that is women, the elderly, and children. We've also identified poverty as another challenge, which is contributing to gender-based violence, because as we engage with these women, we find that some are in abusive relationships just because they depend on their spouses or partner. They would not want to either report these incidents or leave their partners. We've also identified a problem of divorced women who have lost everything. Some who the processes did not favor them because they were not followed legally. Some were not even informed of their rights. Some did not even know that they were divorced until they were served with a decree. We've also found out that within these communities, all three of them, young people are unable to go to clinics, in particular young women, for contraceptives, or even those who are HIV positive or those who have STDs, because they are afraid that health workers at clinics who assist them sometimes tell people about their status. Sometimes they become mean to them when they go to clinics for contraceptives. They become judgmental on the young women, because these are very small communities and these people know each other. These areas are also characterized by horrible treatment of LGBTQIA+ community. Indicated to us as the community that they do not, let me not use hate, they dislike LGBTQIA+ members, and they do not want them within their communities, and therefore they drive them out of their communities. We have also, as the commission areas that I have mentioned, we've interacted with the Department of Social Development, the magistrates courts, and the NPA to ensure that some of the issues which are raised at our legal clinics are being addressed by relevant stakeholders. We've also provided legal advice to the legal clinics, and we've made sure that they really get a recourse for their complaints. We've also interacted with NGOs in these areas, Chairperson, NGOs which are dealing with a particular, so that together as stakeholders we can address the issues. This is how far we've gone with Thabo Mofutsanyane. Chair, with your permission, I'll proceed to the Xhariep District Municipality.
So I'm just sorry, the muting is a bit of a challenge today. We will give you
Okay.
5 minutes for Xhariep because
Okay,
we
thanks,
need to
Chair.
wrap up. Thank you.
In the Xhariep District Municipality, Chair, we've had legal outreach and legal clinics at Xhariep Dam, the Thule, Forest Smith, Philippolis, Oppermansgronde, and Lukhof. And in this area, I won't repeat the purpose. I had already mentioned the purpose of our outreach and legal clinics. Chairperson, are high levels of the withdrawal of domestic violence cases in these communities. Some GBV cases makes it to court, but witnesses refuse to take a stand because of fear. Unavailability of SAPS due to early closure of police station, in particular in Oppermansgronde. We've identified that problem and we've raised it with the provincial office of the police commissioner in the Free State, that the police station, it does not open at all. Also, there is a delay in response from the ambulances in these far-flung areas in the Xhariep district. And we've also identified a challenge of women who are working in farms who are still being paid below minimum working wage. Shall we, with the municipality, the work that we've done, we've only had introductions with the municipality, and we had requested them to submit their IDPs so that we can proceed with assessment of their IDPs. We are still awaiting, the municipality was in 2019. We are still awaiting municipalities to do so, convening meetings with them. In the process of us convening meeting, then there was this pandemic, and there was lockdown, and the meetings could not take place at the time when we wanted the meeting to take place. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. I think it is quite a comprehensive presentation that you gave to us, and we can see that you've been very busy making sure that the mandate of the Gender Commission is being executed, and we really appreciate the work that you've been doing. The women will be engaging on a later stage. They will continue to our next presentation, and I already see Neil on the screen. So we will allow Stats SA to give us a little bit of information to us, and we are around the areas that you've been very over to you, Mr. Roux, and also Ms. The mandate of the Gender Commission is being executed.
Good morning, ma'am.
Really
Thank you. Sorry, it's good afternoon. I'm sorry.
The women will
Good afternoon,
be
ma'am.
on a later stage.
And
They will continue to our
thank you very
next
much for having us
presentation,
again at
and
the
I already
presentation.
see Neil on the screen.
I see
So we will allow Stats SA to
on
give us a
the
little
program,
bit
it
of
also
information
refers
to
to
us, and we are
Mangaung.
around the areas that you've listed.
Unfortunately,
Over to
because we
you,
presented
Mr.
the
Roux, and
I
also
think the Mangaung Metro on the 12th of June. We are only focusing on Thabo, Mofutsanyane, and Xhariep position.
No, for a fact, you have given us the presentation on Mango.
Thank you very much for having us again. Thank you very much, ma'am. And thank you, colleagues. I think it's a very, very brief background. Yesterday, Statistics South Africa released the new material estimates for South Africa. So this is hot off the press, so to speak. As of yesterday, South Africa, we estimated that as of the 1st of July,
No, for a fact, you
South Africa had a population
you
of
have given us the
just
presentation
under
on Mango.
60 million, about 59.3 million. That's about I think it's a very, very big background. Yesterday's the total South African population lived in the Free State. So the Free State was the second, as of yesterday, in the Northern Cape. We estimated that now, the 1st of July.
No, for a fact, you
If you have a look at the next slide, roughly 750,000 persons in the Free State were employed, about 0.76 million. But negatively, about 500,000, 0.47 million people, 120,000 people in the Free State was now unemployed. And if you have Free State, stood about 38.4%, which is the highest after the Eastern Cape. So as you can see, you know, it is a province that is really troubled by unemployment. In fact, the expanded unemployment rate stood at about 44.5% than men. But we'll expand that in just 1 second. I think one of this background is that Thabo Mofutsanyane was the second largest district in the Free State at about 755,000 people. That made up about a quarter, 26% of the total rather. And the other one that we're talking about was the smallest one. It only had 127,000 persons in the district. Very importantly for what we are speaking about today is the distribution of males and females. Now, normally in a population, the distribution is about 51% females or 52% females compared to about 48% males. Now, in the Xhariep, about 51% females to about 49% males, which makes a lot of sense in the margin that we'll expect. It was slightly higher males and about 46.5% males. Now, we didn't go into the reasons for this, but normally a deficit of males indicate high immigration, particularly of males, although that is something that one needs to study, of course, before one can say it above all grounds. The service delivery in those areas, about 92% of households in Thabo Mofutsanyane had drink that is produced via pipe water. About 60%, which is very bad, at access to flush toilets or chemical toilets. That's improved systems. About 40% of households in those areas didn't have access to improved sanitation systems, which is a very negative point. And about 92.3% or 92.5% had access to electricity is always on, and whether people can afford it, but in principle, people had a connection to the electricity. The Xhariep system looks slightly better. 95% of households had access to piped connection for drinking water. 88% had access to similar to Thabo Mofutsanyane had access to mains electricity. Now, as I've mentioned earlier, of course, people are all affected by poverty. So just having these services doesn't always mean that people can actually pay for these. Next slide, you'll see that about 36.2% of people in South Africa, in the Free State, rather, are considered. In mind that, as if you might have seen this slide before, we use instead of about 49%. South Africa free poverty line, which makes a lot of sense. And upper bound poverty line essentially means that a person is considered poor per person per month. Per month is the lower bound poverty line, they will consider poor. And then the same for food poverty line. The food poverty line being the most basic line, of course, is also the threshold that is needed to have to purchase the minimum required daily energy intake. Now, using these figures, one can see that in terms of state, about 55% of people were poor. For the lower bound poverty line, about 36% were poor, as I've mentioned earlier. And then for the food poverty line, about a fifth, which is 21% of persons were poor. Now, the reason we're doing this as a Free State, not necessarily as district, is that unfortunately we don't really have data at the district level at this stage. The surveys that we do, unfortunately, can only be disaggregated up to or down to a provincial level. Now, if one has a look at the Free State, and of course, this will probably also reflect in the various districts, you find that females or female-headed households were more likely to be poor than male-headed households. About 37% of female-headed households were poor compared to about 35%. In fact, in terms, this also translates in food in a sense that about 25% of female-headed households were likely to run out of money to buy food during any particular month. And this is particularly for Thabo Mofutsanyane, you can see it's about 27.4% for female-headed households, and then for Xhariep it's about 21.2%. So persons or female-headed households, and actually all households in Thabo Mofutsanyane was more likely to be poor and to not have money to buy food than in Xhariep, or in fact in the average for the Free State. Now, this is all what we call money metric poverty. In other words, there is absence of money to buy things. However, poverty is, of course, much more than just absence of money. It's also, it includes a lot of other things. It includes access to healthcare. It includes access to adequate education, having living standards, and others access to certain services and basic services like water and cooking and so forth. And also, you know, whether people are employed or not, whether they can actually earn money or at least earn their keep in
sorry,
another way.
We're not seeing the slides.
I tried to.
Sorry, Deputy Speaker, we are speaking to the host officials because apparently they do have the presentation, so we are speaking to them. So can proceed.
Can I continue, ma'am? Should I share it? Or
yeah,
Kevin,
they will explain to you now, Deputy Speaker. Okay. So we can continue.
Thank you very much, ma'am. So in compare the non-money metric poverty, one can also always been higher than actually does in South Africa, as well as the Free State, and in fact in Xhariep. It declined about 7.1% or to 7% by 2016, but it's still notably higher, for instance, than 5%. So poverty is unfortunately a reality. Now, if one looks at what is driving poverty, and this is not only for the districts, but actually across, you know, nationally and across all districts, it is the vast majority of persons in those areas are actually unemployed. And that more than years of schooling or sanitation or assets or anything else drives the inequality and also the poverty that people are experiencing. And then, of course, if we go to inequality, we of course come back to money metric measures. And here we start with now that zero is perfect equality. That's what we're all striving for. Everybody in the country is earning exactly the same. And then, of course, one means essentially one person or a very small, the rest of people are essentially very poor. Now, in South Africa, our Gini coefficient stands at 0.65, which is exceedingly high, meaning that inequality is, of course, also extremely high. Now, in terms of males, females, as you can see, the Gini coefficient for females is slightly lower at 0.61 compared to males at 0.64. So there's slightly more equality amongst females, but of course, if you compare between them, it tells you a different story. Now, in terms of the Free State, inequality has declined from between 2006, when it was first measured, to 2015, 0.63 to 0.6. But it's, I think there's heights, although it's only a 0.03% difference, it actually does hide a lot of improvement in that nature. Of course, we don't know what's going to happen after the current impasse. I'm afraid, you know, with the economy declining and a lot of people losing their jobs, you know, this situation might become very, very bad going forward. And unfortunately, we don't have data on that yet. But we hope with the data that we're gathering currently, we might be able to provide better information. That source of income, which is very, very important in South Africa, of course. You'll see that in the Free State on grants for their main source of income, compared to only 50%, 54% on salaries. Now, I think it's important to just compare that with Free State households are less dependent on grants, for instance, and remittances than, for instance, the average for this situation in South Africa is skewed by the two big provinces, the Western Cape and Gauteng, where most, now in terms of, and I've actually spoken about it, so I'm actually just as well as access to electricity, the Free State has consistently been, since 2002, been above the national average. And then maybe to the point, I think this is the last few slides, man. We're talking about vulnerable groups, of which women, of course, is a very, very important vulnerable group. Those are people that are experiencing higher risk of poverty and social exclusion. Now, as you can see here, 32.8% of women or female-led households, rather, in the Free State did not have a single employed household member. And that is, of course, if you compare that to males, the male households was only 22.5% of male-headed households didn't have an employed member. Now, there are a number of reasons for this. Often it's also because households are reconstituted around elderly women, for instance, that earns grants and who then look after grandchildren and so on. But of course, that also creates other inequalities and inequities that's very, very difficult to fix. And then, of course, about 1.8% of women that's over the age of 16 years old in the Free State were victims of assault. And that's slightly higher again than the average for South Africa, which is 1.2%. Literacy rate is there. I think disability is something that's been asked in the past. You'll see here that about 12.8% of females in Xhariep, or 13.6% of females in Xhariep, and about 12.8, or sorry, rather 12.7% of females in Thabo, Mofutsanyane were disabled, based on the indicators that we use from the UN Disability Watchdog Group. And I think, ma'am, the second last slide, and I've shown this to you last time, is that majority of women that does start businesses did so because they were unemployed. So they were really almost forced to start a business as opposed to looking for an opportunity. And these women, and this is the next slide, about 68% of them, almost 7/10, earned less than 1,500 rands in the work they did. Whilst, of course, as you can see in the slide, as if you do have the slides in front of you, it seems as if men had a slightly better income than female equivalent. About 80% of men got more than 6,000 rands per month, compared to only 9% of females. And that is the last slide, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Neil. We will make sure that the information is being distributed, because we do have the presentation. It's just that sometimes with the broadcast, there is the issue of the quality of the broadcast that is being impacted by the presentation. But I think we will make sure that we henceforth we will make sure that we improve on the issue of the presentations. But thank you very much. We do have the presentations. We'll make sure that you get the slides. We will continue. We will then now give to Ansua Maraj of the Finance and Fiscal Commission to give us the host officials that they have distributed the slides of the former presentation to everyone.
Thank you.
Over
so
to you,
much,
Ansua.
Honorable Deputy. Sorry, thank you so
And
much,
thank you for both you
Chairperson.
and Neil that have been with us since the beginning. Let me just express that.
Thank you so much for that, Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, and everybody that is listening to the presentation. I am from the Financial and Fiscal Commission. I will basically talk about the role and function of the FFC, FFC research on gender budgeting, the recommendations that FFC had made regarding gender budgeting, as well as a few concluding remarks. Thank you. So in terms of the role and function of the FFC, the Financial and Fiscal Commission, it is a constitutional institution. It is independent and it is a permanent statutory body, the Constitution. The enabling legislation is the Financial and Fiscal Commission Act of 1997. The mandate, Chairperson and honorable members, regarding the FFC is that it acts as a consultative body, makes recommendations and gives advice to the three spheres of government on the equitable division of revenue and on any other financial and fiscal matters in terms of the Constitution and as provided for in national legislation. The Commission's focus is primarily on the equitable division of nationally collected revenue amongst the three spheres and on any other financial or fiscal matters. So looking at legislative provisions that affect provincial or local government, but looking at it purely on the lens of anything financial or fiscal perspective regarding financial or fiscal implications, the FFC must be consulted in this regard. Then what research FFC has done regarding gender budgeting, Chairperson and honorable members, was that there were various findings that had emerged from FFC research. And what was found was that despite government's commitment to gender equality, legislative measures, including anti-discrimination legislation and employment equity policies, unacceptable gender inequalities still persist. A few statistics in that regard is that Black African female-headed households are the poorest of the poor in South Africa, are headed by females. Of these female-headed households, 56% fall into the poorest quintile 1 compared to 44% of the male-headed household, and only 31% of female-headed household fall into the upper quintile 5 compared to 69% of male-headed household. So to continue, the unemployment rates tend to be high. First quarter of 2008 and the first quarter of 2017, the unemployment rate for women had been consistently higher than the unemployment rate for men. And the national average in the first quarter rate for women stood at 29.8% compared to 26% for men and the national average of 27.7%. And then, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Members, the not in employment education or training, which is the need to high. In the first quarter of 2017, 20 and 2024 was above 50% for male. And then to continue, the FFA, in light of the background, one avenue, the fiscal relations system, and is successful and contribute to moving them out of poverty in a way required to ensure gender sensitive resource allocation, responsiveness of municipal budgeting processes. And FFC had did followed basically a two-pronged, which is integrated development plans of 30 randomly micro, rural, urban, and so forth. So there was a good select, covered 7 municipalities across 4 provinces, Gauteng, Western Cape, Eastern Cape, and the Free State. There was, then it was zoomed in even further. There were particular focus on 4 sectors, being early childhood development and housing infrastructure. The findings that emerged from the FFC research regarding this and the municipalities where that integrated development plans, chairperson and honorable members, was there was basically a lack of gender mainstreaming and women empowerment as an approach. Equity versus mainstreaming for gender equality, more about numbers. And there was a very weak translation of gender equality commitments into fiscal commitments, IDP planning processes, and budget offices have budgeted for gender mainstreaming. There were various findings that were done. And from the case studies, the findings that emerged revealed that there was poor translation of the national agenda on women empowerment. There was inadequate sex disaggregated data. The gender discourse was very events driven. There was a lack of gender budgeting training and capacity building of decision makers, poor institutionalization, analysis of gender impact of existing revenues and expenditure. So FFC then continued with its mainstreaming and gender budgeting in local government was essentially an absence of an approved gender policy across all municipalities strategy, and the personnel as well in management, that is the ones who make the decisions. And then there was in terms of the budget officers, that is the ones who actually, and honorable members, we found that they have limited knowledge of gender mainstreaming as such. And gender equality indicators in the collection of gender disaggregated information was very, as you know, there is a formal approach where it's done and government has to respond to it. And we somehow track the status as well. So FFC did make recommendations regarding nations where that the national and provincial government should run gender budgeting pilots in a few municipalities first, evaluate the results before wider application, and these pilots could be linked to ensuring gender grant framework in the Division of Revenue Act, and as well as to ensure municipal integrated plans to institute sanitation, local government, and so forth, and include gender disaggregated performance indicators and data to provide guidelines for collecting product. Municipalities have the capacity to analyze budgets from a gender perspective. Chairperson and honorable members, government did respond, and the response was that government supports the proposals, which will ensure that the collection and allocation of public resources is effectively carried out and contributes to advancing gender equality and women's empowerment contributions of men, women, boys and girls within existing revenues, expenditures and allocations, and will call for adjusted budget policies to benefit all groups. And the Department of Women was at that time, in terms of the state, just engaging National Treasury on budgets and had indicators in its strategic plan regarding that. FFC, where we said that the local government is linked to integrated development plans and build capacity for gender mainstreaming and gender responsive budgeting at a local level, to also ensure gender sensitive public participation and consultations also at a local level. And government response to that was that and other practical policy measures can address gender bias and discrimination. And it is no doubt a step towards increased accountability and public transparency, and it can shift economic policies leading to gains across society. However, the proposals in municipalities, thus far in terms of the state there's no record of any progress regarding these recommendations. There are various pieces of legislation, Chairperson, if you have to take into account when you want to embed, gender within some of these fiscal powers and functions act. If you look at the Municipal Finance Management Act as well, you can embed it because if there are certain legislation which provides for the enactment of subordinate legislation, the FFC must be consulted in that regard. And there is no doubt that a fire has definitely been lit in the adoption of the first Women's Charter, and it must no doubt definitely continue to be burning. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you very much, Ansuya. I think really the FFC is taking us into a direction of making sure that we do address the issue of gender budgeting, and that we begin really as women to take serious the input that we can make to ensure that we input on what should be the direction of our lawmakers and of the resources that are available. So thank you very much, Ansua. There will be a discussion later. We just want to give to the two mayors, the mayor of Mangaung, that is Honorable Alderman Oli Mlamleli. We will now give to you, Oli, to address us, and then we will give to Mayor Vilakazi after you.
Thank you, Honorable Lucas, Deputy Chairperson of National Council of Provinces, and other members of this distinguished second house in Parliament. I've seen also the Deputy Speaker, members of Parliament, MPLs, fellow councillors, all women that are in from different sectors, also including women from the House of Traditional Leaders, Honorable Chairperson, let me start by expressing the word of apology that I have sent to your office for the last session, because I was appearing in the select committee of NCOP, chaired by Honorable Dodofu. We appeared there as municipalities that are under Section 139. I sent my apology. I wish my apology can be accepted, Honorable Chairperson. Secondly, Chairperson, I think I must also express from what I have heard from our commissioner that she sent the letter to the HOD of Corporate Services. I think what she needed, it is compulsory, it is mandatory, it is imperative. I've just called the HOD to find out. HOD say that maybe they were communicating with officials. I want to commit that this coming week, I'll make sure that all that information is available. And I want to indicate, Honorable Chairperson, that let the office of the Executive Mayor, because that is where gender issues are housed, so that I must be able to direct and ensure that all what is needed, it is submitted. Honorable Chair, I believe there is no sphere of government that is better placed than local government to be a fundamental driver of women's emancipation, facilitate recognition and respect for work that women do in the home, at the workplace, and in the community. However, Chair, this cannot happen automatically without deliberate policy actions that are monitored and evaluated on continuous basis. In the past apartheid South Africa, the scope of local sphere of government has been amplified to include local economic development and growth. Honorable Chairperson, a totally new phenomenon in the history of local government, which propels municipalities to develop necessary competencies and relevant organizational structures, such as the local economic development units. Those units are compelled to look into in their plans according to women development. The latter being a distinguished feature of the long-term vision of the creation of developmental local government, could, in terms of white paper on local government of 1998, be realized if integrated development planning is fully explored, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chairperson and all members in this session, but today we look at the tool of integrated development planning with the lens of improving the status of women. It appears women who were part of local government white paper committee, they did not slumber nor slept, as their voices are still reverberating in municipal chambers that municipalities need to be aware of the divisions within local communities and seek to promote the participation of marginalized and excluded groups in the community processes. There are many chairpersons obstacles to the equal effective participation of women, such as social values and norms, as well as practical issues such as the lack of transport, household responsibilities, and personal safety. Honorable Chairperson, that despite the forewarnings, municipal approach to integrated development has not been engendered and crafted to favor the emancipation of women. And there are various reasons for such omissions, Chair. In my opinion, Honorable Chairperson, these include discord between the policy ends and means. By this, Chair, I'm referring to adoption of good policies in this country, but not implemented as originally intended. Thus, the Free State chapter of the Women's Charter review should prioritize monitoring and evaluation mechanisms towards effective implementation of the ideals we envisaged in the charters of 1954 and 1994. Honorable Chairperson, this includes effective legislative oversight function to enforce responsibility and accountability. Secondly, Chair, the gender activists and related lobby groups have not been quite visible on municipality policy or IDP matters, and it might be because they may not be adequately invited to take part on their matters, neither at the level of consideration of the sector plans, IDP forums, nor during the IDP budget public hearings. Therefore, from now henceforth, Honorable Chair, it must be imperative that all municipalities, when they are looking at the IDPs, when they are looking at the budgets, at the public hearings, they must make sure that there must be a corps of women that will be there to articulate their issues to influence the budgets. Honorable Chair, municipalities have not yet acquired the desired developmental status, including advancing the inclusive economic growth. Local government turnaround strategy explicates distressing issues and various reasons why the ideal municipality is not realized. In the main, Chair, we are still grappling with elementary issues of maintaining good governance. Honorable Chairperson, institutional capacity challenges there are challenges relating to a functional performance management system. There is a tendency to give primacy on financial matters while neglecting other transformational issues such as gender equality, because gender needs to be mainstreamed by everybody at every hour at all times. Chairperson, there is also the language barrier. I have noted with a serious concern that one barrier we tend to ignore is language. In most cases, Chairperson, women's emancipation concepts are too abstract and need to be defined in layman's terms and translated into official languages in our respective districts so that women must understand. Accordingly, Chair, in some instances, people fail to submit inputs as they do not understand what you're talking about. For this purpose, Chairperson, we must take full advantage of the translation services of our legislative authorities. However, all these problems are systematic and they require a collective effort towards a gendered integrated development planning approach to improve the status of women. Together, we can do more. And women must take a lead in this regard. Nothing for women without women. The fact that the two historic women's charters of 1954 and 1994, they precede the two supreme policies of our country, the Freedom Charter, which is embraced as the country's policy framework, and the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. It demonstrates the shrewdness of women. That is, Honorable Chair, in terms of the ability to identify problems, we need to think strategically and futuristically on how to resolve all these issues that are facing women development. Chairperson, these charters do not only embody our country's struggle for gender equality, but also our commitment for full and equal participation in the creation of alternative society that is non-sexist, non-racial, democratic, and prosperous. In the same spirit, Chairperson, women in all sectors of society must unite in pursuit of gender integrated development planning. In the coming year, we must see to it that there is a special IDP forum on gender issues, wherein invitations will be extended to relevant stakeholders. So all the municipalities, we need to make sure that we do have that special IDP forum on gender issues, so as we are in a position to influence the IDPs and the budgets. This forum should exert necessary pressure to propel the municipality to adopt IDPs with a particular focus on inclusive economic development and growth for women. Ideally, Chair, when we speak about inclusive economic for women, we should actually go beyond creation of new economic development, but also look into those opportunities that are there for them. They must be incorporated as part of municipal growth and development strategy. As to whether the access in question was ascertained or not, answers must be provided accordingly during the IDP review processes where women will be involved. Critical to advancing the inclusive economic growth, Chairperson, for women is access to and ownership of land. This matter was reiterated by the state president, Cyril Ramaphosa, during the presidential job summit when he said, I quote, specific interventions include the procurement of the new land hectares under the Black ownership and redirecting the expenditure to Black women and women-owned farms, producers, and processors. Honorable Chair, regarding the matter pertaining to Article 5, development, infrastructure, and the environment, this tragic relationship always points at sustainable development. The latter is, in most cases, looked at through the prism of sustainable development goals. Added to the national and United Nations work on sustainable development, we need to build local capacity to investigate how environmental and climate change issues affect women and incorporate in this account accordingly in the IDPs. Honorable Chair, towards closure, this should include the latest development involving how the proposed district model distribute to overcoming the lack of coordination among the three spheres of government in pertaining to women's empowerment. As I conclude, Chairperson, we wish to take this opportunity to urge all women in position of power to ensure to fast-track radical economic transformation that will, among others, Chairperson, lower the cost of doing business and the unblocking of constraints to investment for women in particular. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Alibongwe.
Alibongwe. Thank you very much, Honorable Mayor. We will give to Councillor M. Vilakazi from Thabo Mofutsanyane to make the input before we go into the discussion. Sorry, before we go into the discussion. Councillor Vilakazi. Before we go into the discussion.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Please take the sound of the TV a little bit off.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. And for me to be on the safe side, let me say all protocol observed. Thabo, a sixth municipality, which is Dihlabeng, Maluti Aphofusi, Tsoto, Phumelela, Nketwane, and Mantsopa local municipalities. It consists of 98 wards in the province of 309 wards, being just under 33% of the total wards in the province. The district was at 7,691,761, but we have now received the recent one, which is 7,555. And out of 6,775, which is about 30% of the provincial population. And in Thabo Mofutsanyane, 53% of the district are women, 57% of the population, and we have also 41% female household and the unemployment is 3 to 27%. And Chairperson, before maybe I can continue, let me say something about the issues that have been mentioned by the Women Commissioner. That Thabo Mofutsanyane has adopted, ODP has been adopted accordingly from the draft until final adoption of the final IDP. This is because of, that's why even the auditor, due to its policies and with all issues related to legislation that includes your IDP or human resource policy and financial management. In our district, I think is the only municipality that has the executive mayor that is a female, municipal manager is a female, the CFO is a female, and even the council whip is a female. And it's because, and also at the management level, it's why, because we are I think we need, after this, we will talk to the commission, to the commissioner, so that we can clear all the things that, this is the first time that we are here. Thabo Mofutsanyane has identified the following sectors for intervention for women. The textile industry, tourism, jewelry making, brick making, and sand mining. Chairperson, in terms of textile industry, Thabo Mofutsanyane District Municipality used to be the textile hub of the province, and most retail factories used to be based in Putadichaba, in Qwaqwa. When these factories closed, most women were left with sewing skills and are operating as individuals. The district had 2 cooperatives closed due to non-profitability of operations. Most of these women operate from the industrial park, which has poor buildings, which are dilapidated as we are speaking now. Chairperson, the supply of electricity is also not reliable, and as such, targets cannot be met. Supply of water is also a challenge. The district intervention, FDC, Thabo Mofutsanyane District Municipality, LED, and local municipalities has introduced the concept of registration of cooperatives. The process of registration has already started, and now COPs will undergo incubation for a period of 6 months. After the garments will be opened and later explore opportunities of franchising the brand. Online shopping has been tested with 2 fashion designers and they are up and running. Access to market will improve as a result of Thabo Mofutsanyane District Textile and Fashion Design Expo, which expo has fashion show, exhibition, and master classes. Participants score big orders from schools and retail companies. A previous winner was invited to exhibit in Bulgaria. Chairperson, we have a lack of tourism industry. The hospitality industry, guest houses, B&B, and catering is predominantly owned by women. Most guest house and B&B are not registered. As a result, they are not graded. This market is difficult to compete in the hospitality industry because their prices are not regulated. Guest houses affiliating to Thabo Tourism Enterprise Program enjoy benefits like taking place abroad and showcasing at tourism in Daba. Women in tourism industry are earned 10%. We have intervened in this way, Chairperson, that women in tourism has established and launched in February in 2019. And capacity building workshop started in February in 2019. The district grading and registration. Challenges facing women in mining industry, jewelry making, and beadwork. Ke mo re ipabolang ka teng mo ka bogabane ba rona ka difaha ka hare ho Thabo Mofutsanyane. No access to markets. The sector has much potential, but machinery to manufacture jewelry is too expensive. The skill needs special training. The copper jewelry makers are struggling to access permits. Permits can only be accessed through online application, and Department of Mineral Resource Office are based in Velks. Women in this sector have no access to market, formal market, hence they resort to roadside selling. Brick making and sand making is dominated by men, and women are mainly laborers. Thabo Mofutsanyane Mining Association was established in 20. This will help to explore ways of formalizing and export the sandstone mining industry. Chairperson, as I conclude, even in the previous presentation, the speakers said that the Thabo Mofutsanyane is most rural or is most poor district in the province. It means we need more financial injection. In conclusion, Honorable Chair, the successful implementation of the above mentioned intervention will certainly make it easier for women to participate and thus give effect to Article 3 of the Women's Charter, which is in the advancement of the inclusive economic growth paradigm of women. Chairperson Kyaleboa, Nyabonga.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mayor. Honorable Councillor, and thank you for the practical steps that you have actually highlighted within your input. I'm a very practical person and I like practicality. So we are going to have a discussion now to make sure that those that have been listening to the different presentations will be able to make input, will be able to speak about the charter and on the issues that is there, the 12 I've received. I have a few names here, but I want you to use go into participants and use the raise your hand, the raise your hand function to raise your hand to indicate whether you want to speak. So I will immediately give to Lulama Titi to speak because I see your hand, and after yourself it will be Mapa Sekan Kwan. Lulama.
Oh, thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, I just want to really appreciate this opportunity for us to be part of this important engagement today about the planning of Women's Charter Review, Chairperson. Firstly, Chair, I know that in terms of the protocol, I must just greet the Chairperson and of the NCOP and the Deputy Speaker of the Assembly, Chairperson. Chairperson, I just want to just allude to the presentation. Chair, really it is very important to make sure that as women, we are working together to make sure the economy of our respective municipalities is growing. Yes, Chair, we know that there is a document of the district development model, which really is going to assist a lot of municipalities, even those municipalities who have the budget that is very limited. Fortunately and unfortunately, in the Free State, Honorable Speaker, Chairperson, in Mangaung only we have the budget of 8.3 billion, which is the population of Mangaung is 800 plus. And we still have to make sure that when we we contribute to the basic services in the same limited budget of 8 billion, we must make sure that women are benefiting in this 8 billion. Chairperson, I will also request the Parliament and NCOP really to make sure that the budget of the municipality, particularly when we are budgeting for the economic development unit, I think most of the people, they will adhere with me. The budget of those departments, you'll find out that it's very limited. And it's where we have cooperatives, where we want to empower women. It's where we have small businesses. It's where we have workers, where we're supposed to teach them or to educate them about the financial sustainability. The Commission of FFC, we requested long ago as municipalities that really the Parliament must sit down and engage, that we must also fall under the national fiscals as the municipality, mostly the councillors. Because if we can check our collection rates to all the municipalities in the Free State, it's not good, Chairperson. It's worse as we are in the pandemic now. It's worse. Now we really want to be assisted by the national fiscals to assist the municipality, where those who are small. If you have a population of 200 people, you have only the budget of 250 million, Chairperson. You will think that you'll manage to assist those women who are really disadvantaged. I think if we want to make sure that we empower a lot of women, we must really increase the budget of the municipality. And I also want to appreciate also, Chair, the presentation of the Provincial Commissioner of Gender, Meg Gertrude. I think we appreciate as Mangaung, and we take note about the issues that he really mentioned, that the municipality is not cooperating, but we heard about it. I think the executive mayor already mentioned that we will follow up and we will make sure that the commission is receiving attention on those requests that are requested from the municipality. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Can I just really request all of us to not speak too long? We will try between 3 and 4 minutes, and if we see that you have really not finished, 5 minutes, but not more than that. We have already requested Mapa Second Kwane. If she's not there, can we then have Tokovana? Are you
here.
there?
Yes, I'm here.
Mapa Second, please.
I'm here.
It's you.
Thank you so much. Let me first start by greeting the chair of the NCOP, the deputy speaker of the assembly, and all protocol observed. And thank you for this opportunity. And thank you that you are saying we should be very brief, and you'll give us also some time again to be able to put some more inputs. I will try to come with just point number 1, which is about the maintenance of our children. I've read the document of the Women Charter, and I'm happy that today we are now talking about the review. But from my point of view, what I've seen, there's not much to be reviewed as such, but we need only to check on the implementation on what the document is talking about, and also taking stock. By taking stock, I mean the monitoring. How is it being done to see to it that really this document, it really assists women outside, ordinary women who are struggling outside there. And my other point will be that the Women Charter should also be written in different languages, because we do have women who are very poor. Some of them, they are not educated, and we know it's difficult for them to go through either Afrikaans or English. Now let's accommodate them. If we have a document in Sotho, the Tswana will be able to read it. If we have the Zulu, the Xhosa will be able also to read it. If we can try by all means to do that. We have 67 courts in the Free State, and most of them, their priority also is about the maintenance of our children. But the problem is, officials in those courts, they are still compromising the women in this country. The principle of Batupile is not taken into consideration in those issues. And those are the issues that we need to look at. Our women are crying as we speak. And the dignity that we spoke about in the Women Charter, that dignity is not being practiced. And how are we going to make sure that our women, really their dignity is really taken care of? Most of them, they get their maintenance very late. Some of them, they take plus minus 6 months without getting maintenance. And by the time when they go and retire, the money will be paid into bulk. Where does that money come from? And some women, they abandon their cases due to how the process is being run at the court. I will come back again, Chair. Thank you.
Yeah, no, the only thing that I want us to do is to focus and speak directly to the issues. We don't have to elaborate and give a lot of examples.
Okay.
Just speak directly to the issue. Toko Vanqa or Vanqa. Sis Toko.
Thank you, Chairperson, and I would like to. Chairperson, can you hear me, Chairperson?
It's a tick that is confusing you. You can continue.
Actually participating in this virtual assembly of deliberations. In the interest of time, to tell you what has been said by
Papa
my.
Seka, can you mute, please? Papa Seka, can you mute? Thank you. Continue.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson. I would like to appreciate this thanks to be part of the women who are actually deliberating on gender issues. However, I would like to appreciate the work because it is actually led by women, from the municipal manager, the executive mayor, even the CFO. I won't waste much time about that. It will be like I'm bloating, but I would like to the actual work that was being audited by Auditor General. You will then realize that many women have been empowered by way of procuring tools of trade for them, especially those whom we actually regard as our SMEs. Even in agriculture, those who are actively participating in agriculture, if you zoom into the financials of Thabo Mofutsanyane, you'll then realize that a piece of pie has been distributed to those women, just to ensure that we get the works being recognized even at higher levels of NAMPO and in terms of agriculture. But however, Chairperson, I would also like to laud the Office of the very important to channel the budget that is available for Tanyan. The stats have actually proved that there's a issues of gender, giving priority to women and young women. So I'm saying, Chairperson, to the platform, if more money can be injected into this institution, I'm telling you, more households will sleep with their stomachs being full and more women being empowered, being taken from one level to another. I think, Chairperson.
Thank you, Toko. Candy Smith. Candy Smith.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. I really want to say thank you for the opportunity to actually say something as a businesswoman in the province of the Free State. I think a lot more can be done to uplift women in the Free State, especially people with disabilities. I think a lot more can be done in order to make sure that opportunities are spread equally, and you know that if you empower women, you empower the nation. So I think there's a lot more that can be done. And I just want to say to our leadership as well, thank you for the opportunities that they give to us as women in the Free State, and to empower a lot more of us, and to make sure that we are also out there making sure that we win within the province of the Free State. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Smith. Victoria Muloy. Victoria.
Thank you very much, Chairperson of the NCOP. Leadership, thank you very much. I'm greeting all the leadership in government, and I would also like to pass my message, the Queen Matukwana Mopedi's message of condolences to the family of the Mahakhaben nation about the passing of the Queen. Thank you very much. I do not have much to say, but I think the executive mayor of Thabo Mofutsanyane has alluded to the issues of tourism. As we know that Thabo Mofutsanyane is a very, very rural area, and especially when you come to the areas in the Eastern Free State, around Harrismith and Kwakwa, that is where we find that tourism is actually still the bread basket or the lifeline of the rural women. And women make life to be much easier by tapping into the opportunities presented to them, or they can find the opportunities by themselves, but men do business. And Chair, I would like to put forward the concern about the availability of land, especially to the rural women who can and are having a lot of potential. And I'm the advocate of tourism, so I will definitely emphasize on tourism that these rural areas can only survive. If we want to get them into the economic mainstream, they can only survive in tourism, because we have seen that farming is drifting away because of external factors like weather and whatever is happening in the ecosystem. But tourism can be made. It can be cosmetic and also be natural. But we do have got the human resources as far as rural women. So if they can be capacitated, if they can be afforded land, if they can be afforded education about tourism and be guided, then I think we can see more women, more rural women coming out, not only with the bed and breakfasts. That is the downliner of tourism, but to make tourism as a basis to explore the natural resources that are within the rural areas. Chairperson, thank you very much. I really appreciate this opportunity. We do not have time, but really if we can look into tourism and rural women, that can take us a little bit far, and that can be inculcated into our charter. And I think it can get more expression if it is talked about, and women are being interviewed, and they talk about them. What can you do for yourself?
Thank you very much. I love your outfit. Mamiki, Hawe. Mamiki.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Deputy Chair and all the listeners. My name is Masese Muilwa. My phone has died. That's why I'm here to come and request a phone. I want to talk about the farm workers. I appreciate the presentation of the presentations of the Provincial Commissioner, Megat Root. If she can try and go and help us to the farms, we are struggling as the farmers to get the farms. We depend only on leasing. That is the problem as women. And the water rights in our farms is a challenge. We are planting foods, but we don't have water. If you can be assisted by the water in our farms, I think we can do well as the farmers. And the stock theft, I heard her talking about the stock theft done by the Basotho people. If she can come and talk to us, and as the unions of our organizations, we can talk to her, and maybe she can assist us so that we can do more than that. Thank you very much. I don't want to talk long. Thank you.
Toko Chabalala. Toko Chabalala. Malefu Ngobeze. Malefu Ngobeze.
Yes, Chairperson, thank you so much. Let me appreciate the opportunity afforded to us to make inputs on the review of the charter. Chairperson, let me indicate that the budget for agriculture is limited in the municipalities.
So hereby request the Parliament to increase the budget for agriculture in say that the systems of South Africa are failing women. I'm speaking with regard to rape and violence cases that are reported in South Africa. The culprits are walking freely on our streets, and yet our women are bruised. Some of our women are dead. Hence, I'm saying that the systems are failing us. And also, Chairperson, let me say, if non-profit organizations led by women can be prioritized with regard to funding. The provincial chairperson alluded to the fact of rights of women during divorce. Chairperson, let me say that women does not have enough rights with regard to their rights in court. So, Chairperson, I would like to say the Parliament must look into the fact that women are educated as attorneys so that they can stand for women in court. Thank you so much, Chairperson.
Thank you. Can we have Takatso Libenya? Takatso Libenya.
Thank you, Chairperson. I hope I'm audible. Am I audible, Chairperson?
You are. You may continue.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson. My name is Takatso Libenya from Thabo Mofutsanyane District Municipality. Let me also thank the opportunity afforded to us in inputting on the review of the charter. I will be just citing a few issues. The executive mayor has already said a lot. I just want to indicate, Chairperson, that I think as municipalities, we are taking note of the shortcomings that have been identified, especially in relation to gender budgeting, as well as engendering most of our programs within the municipalities. And we will be correcting that, Chairperson. Secondly, Chairperson, I think it's imperative that as municipalities, we are taking the charter as part of our document in council, adopted when we adopt the IDPs, just like we adopt the sector plans and other policies, so that it's going to be mandatory for us to implement, because most of the time it's not necessarily about what is in the charter now. It's about, are we able to implement, and the charter is going to be the tool that is going to be assisting us as municipality to know that where are we achieving and where are our shortcomings as such. The other one, Chairperson, that I wanted to talk about is about the district development model. Would really appreciate if it can be speedily implemented so that we can be in a position to help each other as municipalities, because we know that the budget that we receive in terms of the allocation is not sufficient for all of us as municipalities to be able to do all these things. So it can assist the municipalities, especially the district municipality, to be able to coordinate the programs. Last but not least, Chairperson, I want to talk about the officials as well, the officials that are deployed in terms of driving these programs. I want to urge with the municipalities to, when we look for people that are going to be driving the gender programs, it should be people that are having the best interest of the gender issues, so that they can be able to understand and they can be eager to learn more in terms of what is it that they're supposed to do. The last one, Chair, that I wanted to raise is around the safe houses for gender-based violence victims. We are lacking the safe houses as a district. Maybe I do know that we do have one in Malutiapofun, that is in Elizabeth Ross. We have another one in Bethlehem, but that is not enough. Women are abused day in, day out, and they go back to the same situation whereby they are abused. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Takatso. We will go back to Choko Tabalala because I saw her and we did identify her. We want everyone at least to make their input. That's why I'm asking ourselves to check on time so that everyone. Over to you, Thabo. You are not audible, Takato. Please mute. Yeah, you can try again.
Chairperson, I greet everybody who's present today in Parliament. Our country must be clear. We need mixed economy or socio-economy. But I believe mixed economy, for where I'm sitting, it will do in South Africa, for colonial system to democratic country. It needs everybody to put our hands on the deck to build the economy of our country. Women must play a leading role on the rebuilding of the economy because we are playing a vital role in the society and our numbers can testify to that. Availability of land for women add part of economical development. It has to be prioritized and it must be given a time frame. We should start with what we have. Government must release the land in their disposal as a matter of urgency. For example, we should follow the Xhariep municipality. They gave more than 5,000 women land through women progressive societies, land in farms. With that farm, they start to develop and build their economy life and create jobs for themselves to deal with unemployment, inequality in our society. Let us look at the positive side of COVID-19. It gives us an opportunity to build for most women in economic sector. Most of jobs should be given to women, jobs that have been created by this pandemic. For an example, manufacturing of sanitizers, masks, etc. It also gives us as women an opportunity to advance ourselves for the fourth industrial revolution because most of the work has been done through technology. Enclosure, online orders, being food, clothes, furniture, etc. As women, it is our opportunity to enter into that space for us to transport the goods. The online orders need transport, so transport is very vital. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Thabo. Can we have Thabo Maputle? Thabo Maputle.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Oh, are you there? Okay.
Yes, I'm here. Yes, I just wanted to make a comment. Pardon?
Continue, please.
All right. I just wanted to make a comment on the report by the commissioner there. The commissioner mentioned something very interesting about the stigmatization of young people and young women at the clinics. And from where I'm sitting, I see that is an opportunity. Even COVID afforded us the opportunity to try and look at that particular issue, because young people are always complaining that when they go to clinic, they are not comfortable. So maybe it's about time we lobby and advocate that the Department of Health comes up with a strategy that allows young people not to go to clinics personally, use some gadgets of some sort so that they can access their medication. And in that, we will be advocating for the emancipation of women, because ultimately they will get their medication, they will have a full-fledged life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Thabo. Connie Msibi. Connie Msibi. If she's not there, can Tabiseng Xhariep?
Connie is there.
Connie,
I am there.
now,
Hello.
Yes, dear, it's your turn. continue, Connie. Connie, can you unmute yourself? We don't hear you. Unmute, please.
It's on.
There you are. Unmute, please.
Is it okay?
Yes, there you are.
Okay. Thank you very much, ladies, and thanks for the opportunity presented to us. As women, we want to thank our leaders for taking everything into consideration that we need to assist and lead our women. So I think there's from the presentation of the Commissioner Memutupi, she has just said a lot, and then the programs that they have developed, they are leading, they're giving us a proper guideline to say what is it that we have to do. But the only thing that I see, or it's a challenge, is a turnaround time. So I think they need to have a turnaround time on everything that they have done. And then the one last thing is that I don't know if Melibenya was, we were talking about the same thing, the district learning network, whereby the municipalities will come together and learn from one another. We must have a common program of whereby we'll be learning from one another. How do we push these women issues? Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Connie. Connie, can we have Xhariep Xhariep?
Thank you very much, Chairperson, Deputy Chairperson of the NCOP, Honorable Lucas, the Deputy Speaker, Ntate Tenuji, National Assembly, Speaker for National Assembly, Honorable Speaker of the Free State, Mercy Fuba, Honorable Mayors, and all women present. Chairperson, let me start by welcoming all presentations made in this house. Unfortunately, Chairperson, I don't see the mayor of Xhariep according to the program. Nonetheless, I will talk to the presentation that has already made. Let me start by the presentation made by Commissioner Mutupi on state of gender transformation. On a presentation, the findings of the outreach, he said about Xhariep, there are withdrawals of cases in Xhariep. Yes, it's true, Chairperson. You can remember Xhariep is a rural area, and we don't have jobs in Xhariep. So many people, specifically women, depends on men. So you can find sometimes they withdraw the cases because they don't have any income. They depend on them, on the perpetrator. The other one, Chairperson, is the one of the ambulance. Chairperson, if we can have ambulance in each and every town, I think it will be much better, because really we are suffering. Sometimes you get, there's one ambulance work for three towns. So it's very, very, very bad, Chairperson. This one of women in farm, not paid enough. The poor women, they can't do anything, Chairperson, because there's no work. They depend on that farms, is the only income they get. So if we are not going to fight for them so that they can be treated as women, there's nothing they can do, Chairperson. In the presentation of the social cluster overview by Mr. Rogues, he talks about the higher population of females in Xhariep. But if you can go to Xhariep, Chairperson, most of the higher positions in politics, wherever is the man. But you can ask yourself that why it can be in that way. 94%, 94.6% 26% of household has made from 2016. Oh, that's good, Chairperson. That one we are happy about it. On the presentation of economic cluster overview by Ms. Maharaj, IDP shows little information is true, Chairperson. When we go outside for public participation with IDP, the community, they are tired of that presentations. All the time we are going to present, each and every year we present same thing, but we don't come to with the implementation. So they don't see the need of the IDP. The poor institutionalization of gender budget in our municipality is through, Chairperson, the budget.
But we will just give you 1 minute more.
Yes.
You will only have 1 minute more.
Thank you, Chairperson. It is very limited, Chairperson. And we need some trainings, Chairperson, and education about this gender mainstream. I think it will help more, especially the women in the district. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Ntabiseng. We will now go to Elizabeth de Koker. Elizabeth de Koker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, everybody in the House, and protocol observed. As you have heard, my name is Elizabeth de Koker. I just have a little bit concern of the contribution that has been made today under this document that we are reviewing. I am, at this point in time, heading football in Thabo Mofutsanyane as a president. Now, one thing that I've picked up when I went through the whole review of the Women Charter, I didn't really pick up anything to do with sports. I really have to make a plea today that sports is an important tool within our society that can assist in the development and emancipation of women. Now, sports must be included as a standalone item in the Women Chamber document. And the other thing that I've picked up is when our Honorable Councillor of Thabo Mofutsanyane, when she has been speaking about the IDP program, that it is also important that they include us as sports, women in sports in the IDP program, because it is very much important, because sports form part of different aspects in the economy, in the society, in the relationships and partnership. It's actually my call today, and thank you very much, and thanks for the opportunity given. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Koker. Palesa, Lingua Bala. Lingua Bala. Palesa. Palesa. Let's continue. We will come back to Palesa. Sandra Mohorsi. Sandra. If Sandra is not there, Lungile Mulefe. Lungile Mulefe.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. All protocol observed. Madam Chair, I would also like to appreciate the opportunity that has been given to us to participate or to engage on the reviewing of this charter. Madam Chair, women of this country, Africans, Indians, white and colored, mothers and wives, housewives and working women came together and declared their aim of removing all customs and regulations that discriminate against women and pave the way of our inherent right to responsibilities, advantages, and opportunities that society offers to any one section of the population. Madam Chair, there is only one society, and it is made up of both women and men. We also share the anxieties and problems of our men. Madam Chair, the reviewing of this charter must be able to tackle the triple challenge, which is poverty, inequality, and employment that women of this country are facing. Radical socio-economic transformation must be implemented. South Africa needs renewed skills development and reskilling revolution. Women must fully participate on the economy of this country. And should I say, in all communities. Madam Chair, women also need to be well introduced in the fourth industrial revolution. South Africa as a developing country, women in rural areas take it as a very complicated and destructive model to disadvantage their lives, of which is not true. It was not properly introduced to them, Madam Chair. The model district that called to action towards improving the coherence and efficiency of effectiveness in the implementation of government programs that are supposed to bring change to women's life. Can this model, Madam Chair, address socio-economic transformation and make sure that women have access to internet by placing Wi-Fi's at all strategic places, even on rural areas? Makoskas, let us all rise above patriarchal society and build a non-racial, non-sexist democratic society. I thank you, Madam Chair. Malibongwe.
Malibongwe, thank you, Melungile. Tandi, reachable. Tandi, reachable.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chairperson of the NCOP, Deputy Speaker of Parliament, members of the NCOP, all protocol observed. Chairperson, I've been listening attentively to the presentation made by the Gender Commissioner. She highlighted issues of the past visits from Lezemeng local sub-region. The issue of the small clinic in Oppermans, in Lukov, that has not yet been addressed. Chairperson, in that visit also, issues were raised of health workers. That is not permanent, that needs to be appointed permanent because of the shortage of staff. Voorzitter, op die issue van die Oppermansgronde se polisiestasie. Dit is kommerwekkend, want die polisiestasie se issues nog nie heeltemal opgelos nie. Die polisiestasie maak oop maandag tot vrydag 7 uur tot 4 uur toe. Na weke, aangezien die misdaad so hoog is, is daar geen services vir die inwoners van Oppermansgronde nie. Voorsitter, die ander uitdaging op Oppermansgrond is die transport om na die sakke te gaan luister wat hulle dan aangemeld het, maandag tot vrijdag, 7 uur tot 4 uur, wat dan nie kan by die hofe uitkom nie. Hulle moet 30 kilometers dan ry vanaf Oppermansgronde af tot en met Koffiefontein. Wat 'n groot uitdaging is, want hulle se uitdaging is die werkloosheid. Voorsitter, as ek miskien moet voorstel om 'n opkom vir Oppermansgronde. Oppermansgronde is meer geleë en hulle inkomste is van agriculture. So as agriculture net kan. Hello.
Where you can continue.
Am I audible, Chair?
Yes, you are.
As Oppermansgronde se mense net toekenning kan kry tot hulle waterregte, voorsitter, dan sal dit ook help. Voorsitter, ek dink hulle is meer geleë op, soos wat ek gesê het, op landbou. As hulle kan 'n game reserve het, wat meer vrouens kan dan hier, en sowel as mansmense, om seker te maak dat hulle werk aan die saak van werkloosheid. Voorsitter, ook as jy kan kyk na hoe Lukhof geleë is. Lukhof is geleë teen die border van Northern Cape. Ek dink dat is 'n groot moontlikheid. As hulle dan nou aangewend word van toeriste, dit sal ook help. Baie die voorsitter.
Dankie, Tandiwe, reachable. The next person that will speak, we will just have these few people and then we will conclude. But there is also, before I continue, there is also someone that is shown as Galaxy Note 9, and I'm so worried because I don't know whether this person has been identified. But if you know who you are with Galaxy Note 9, you can speak now before we continue with the rest of the speakers.
Okay. Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Vuyelwa Jonas.
Are you Galaxy?
Yes, it's me. But I correct that.
It's fine. It saved me to take you later because your name is there later, but it's fine. Thank you. Speak, Vuyelwa.
Thank you, Chairperson, and all protocol observed. I would like to thank the different speakers for their presentation. On the economic development, we as Mangaung, we've got limited budget, like Lulama said. We've got limited budget, and we want to do more for women in Mangaung. But the fundamental of the Charter and Sustainable Development Goals are taken into cognizance by the NDP 2030 and Free State Development Plan and IDP of municipality. These are the key documents to drive the agenda of the ANC. Sustainable infrastructure, water, housing, and sanitation, promoting safe and secure environment, local economic growth and employment, promoting good governance. For the past few years, as the developmental and caring local government, we have managed to provide the following key programs for our women here in Mangaung: empowering women cooperatives by providing equipment and startup business, facilitation of registration and training women cooperatives, public engagement and dialogues with more women. However, as institution, we do face common challenges, such as challenge of lack of responsive policies, such as achieving employment equipment targets. Strategic approach, we have to ensure that we appoint women on vacant posts. Our challenge is here, skill shortage. Strategic approach, we have to promote uptake more women within CWP and EPWP programs and projects. Our challenge again is here, skill economy. Strategic approach provide more support to informal sector and key sectors manufacturing and transport. And in conclusion, Chairperson, I just want to talk about the gender-based violence. You know, yes.
You've got 1 minute.
Oh, thank you, Chairperson. You know, we want to transform our justice system, because if you can check, most cases are dropped, and those cases are handled by men, and we want the women to handle those cases. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Vuyelwa. We will give to Ntombi Patela. Ntombi. Ntombi.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, Chairperson, and protocol observed. Mine is gonna come to the knowledge. We need to encourage our women on going to educate themselves, especially when it comes to economy, so that we don't have to have many men that are dominating in the business sectors, and the barriers that are there that need to be they need to be get rid of, because of now most of the women, they feel like they depend on those men, because even if they have a good maybe a plan to do a business, then because of the knowledge that they don't have, it becomes a very problematic for them, for the women. If we can encourage most of our women to learn more about economy and to get a knowledge, maybe we have some sectors where we can give some knowledge, maybe we sit with them and then talk with them to give them skills and to know how to express themselves, especially when it comes to the economy, because most of our women, they, instead of going to the formal sector of business, they only go to sell some fruits, or maybe to be hawkers or sell some clothes, instead of going to the bigger things, even if they dream of becoming the bigger business women. But because of the barriers that are there, it becomes very difficult for them to go into that. But now I think in the education, if we can maybe encourage most in the communities, our communities, we have maybe classes that where we can teach our women to learn most of the things, and we get some people that have knowledge to come and give them some teachings about how to get confidence on doing things what they feel like to do, or maybe that they feel that they are passionate about and can do. And then if that they have those skills, it's going to be very easy for them to be confident to go in any business. I think in the economy education, our people can get that, our women can get that, then everything is going to be okay. I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Ntombi. Angela Musima. Angela.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to start by saying all protocol observed. What I would like to start off with is to humbly also request that we look into the environmental sector, where we can see that there's still a big gap in terms of climate change. Can we not use this opportunity to let women lead in the forefront? If you provide a woman with resources and the skills and the know-how, they will carry it and they will make it work. So if we can also include issues of environmental projects, environmental training, and how we can take it forward. And secondly, lastly, Chair, also I would like to comment on what Thabo Chabalala also commented on the issue of the Women's Progressive Society that is currently happening here at the local municipality. We've seen it grow from strength to strength, with the numbers of women getting into it growing. We would like to take it as a best practice to say that should more resources also put into it, this is something that can assist our women grow in the sector and provide for themselves. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Angela. Nomhle Adelaide Adowans. Nomhle.
Thank you, Chairperson. All protocol observed. Chairperson, you know, we still have this saying that a woman's place is in the kitchen. As a result, most of the women are being manipulated by men. Most of the women are unemployed. And I think it would be better if they are given this opportunity to contribute in the skills development, that they must be taught some skills so that they can be able to provide for themselves, not relying on men. And then for those that have small things, that if women can be able to be provided with some resources so that they can also contribute to the economy of the country. And then the land availability. If women could also be given some land, because I think it would also boost our economy. Chairperson, I'm just worried on gender-based violence and the LGBTIQ. I think it's time now people be educated that they are also human beings and they should not be discriminated because of their social orientation. And then we also need transformation in our judiciary system, instead of speaking out. Like, for instance, those that are being raped, they feel that when they are in court, they are being raped more and more and more. So I think if ever there is proper training, especially there will be, it will alleviate this problem of rape. You know, the gender-based violence, this week, I'm from the Climate District in a town called Restaurant. A young woman who was out, it shows that she has been raped several times, and then her head was hit several times, and then unfortunately she passed on. So I think women emancipation be taken seriously, and that the government take us as women very serious. I think.
Thank you, Nomhle. We are Hotato Mukwena.
Thank you very much, Chair. All protocol observed. And in the interest of time, I'll just go straight to the few points that I made. But maybe I should just start by noting the fact that women have been calling far too much for capacity building. It is to be noted that by now women are capacitated. What women truly need now are opportunities. So with that said, I would move to my first point, which is seriously raising a concern. Can you hear me, Chair?
You are very audible. You can
Thank you very much. Feminization of poverty, Chair, remains a persistent obstacle that breeds inequality within our communities. And with that, under education and training, I would really appreciate if we can strengthen on our policies, specifically aimed at skills development. We need to develop women into entrepreneurs and employers than just job seekers. I heard Meg Gertrude saying something under law and justice administration. As we are reviewing this very important and powerful document and observing, of course,
the Agenda 2063 and the Maputo Protocol of Action. I think it will also be fair to also find ways and means to strengthen the legal framework and the justice methodologies that are aimed at ensuring safety and protection of women. By that, Chair, I wish to bring to the attention of all participants and leadership present that the relevance and effectiveness as far as our protection order stands, maybe also pay specific focus on interrogation of issuing of bail and sentencing of perpetrators of gender-based violence. I also, in conclusion, also want to maybe add under, I may not be sure of that particular point, but reading at the charter itself and listening to all the presentations made from municipal level, I think we now need to develop a results-based monitoring and evaluation tool that can actually assist us in terms of measuring progress and actually help us to check and weigh ourselves as to whether we're moving forward or we're just rounding by circles. Women are more than just a statistics, Chairperson. We are a valuable asset to the nations, and of which I believe that the development should be centered around us. With that, I also wish to perhaps deploy municipalities in partnerships that they're establishing with civil society. I wish to applaud them on that. That perhaps this is time to also start engaging and lobbying civil society organizations and start introducing issue of finding harsher sentencing to perpetrators of gender-based, violence against women. Perhaps that this is maybe the platform or time to start talking on issue of their sentence. I think that is all, but maybe before I leave,
I think you need to conclude now.
I am concluding. My apologies, my sincere apologies. Issue of inclusion of women with disabilities, specifically young women with disabilities, in employment opportunities and also economic inclusions. That will be all, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for very useful inputs. But we have now reached the stage where we just want, if the presenters that are still on the platform want to just shortly make some input, we will begin with the Commissioner on Gender, or let's begin with Memaraj, if she's still on the platform, and then go to Mr. Roo, and then go to the Commissioner. And so, if you are still there, if you think there is anything that you want to comment on. If not, let's end. Mr. Roo, Neil, if you are still there, is there anything that you want to comment on? So, if not, let us then give to Mayor Gertrude Mutupi, Commissioner, to, if there is anything that you think that needs an input from your side, a response.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. Mine is just too short, just to extend a hand to the participants who've made comments on these issues, that we indeed would want to work together with women from all walks of life and men as well in realizing the mainstreaming of gender. And perhaps also say that, Deputy Chair, our work within municipalities is concentrating on gender mainstreaming, whether municipalities have got policies or not. What we look at is whether the policies are engendered, and that's the basis on which we move. And Meli Benya, thank you for acknowledging that indeed you'd be looking at our policies as Thabo Mofutsanyane to ensure that they are engendered. We've had comments from different participants. We've had Mayor Dipuo Maputle, we've also had Mayor CB, we've had Mayor Tandirishabel, we've had all comments, and indeed we are going to ensure that we mainstream them into our programs. And as and when we come back to communities, when we deal with matters that affect women in particular within our communities, we hope that as people make comments, people will be able to move forward and join us in changing the mindset of the community. And perhaps, Deputy Chair, I must say that the issue of the Opperman's the police station raised by Metandi Rishabel is indeed a concern. We can't have a police station that closes at 4 o'clock that does not operate on weekends. This matter, I must repeat, it has been raised with the provincial commissioner's office, and we are hopeful that the provincial commissioner is addressing this matter. They have raised some challenges, but it is indeed a matter of concern, and we hope that it would be resolved so that the community in Opperman's also get services like other communities within the province. We will go back to municipalities, Chair, we will engage them, and we hope that this time around, after having this engagement, they will respond to our communication. They will come to the party. I thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. There is one person that really did not speak, and she's now insisting to speak. When I was calling her, she was not there. But I'm going to allow you, Palesa, because we still have a little bit of time, but you will be the last before we will conclude on this program. Palesa, Legua Bale. Palesa, we don't hear you. We don't. We really don't hear you. We don't hear you. We understand your frustration, but we don't hear you. We really don't hear you. But if we, Palesa, is it possible that you can put your submission in writing, email it to Sibulelo, so that we can then make sure that in the report of Free State, your input will be there? Is it fine? Please, my dear. I apologize for because I don't know what the issue is with your audio. Now, I want to conclude as follows, my dear ladies. Thank you very much. I think it was a very fruitful, interactive discussion. I appreciate your inputs. There is a few issues that is outstanding in the whole engagement, and I will just list them. I will not go into the discussion on that, but I will just list them. The first issue that came out in the discussion is the issue of policies, but the lack of implementation. That is an issue that we know, but also the majority of women on this platform is supposed to be the implementers of the policy. So we cannot just raise the issue. We must also make sure that we assist in making sure that we implement our own policies. The second issue that came out very strongly is the issue of capacitation or capacity building of women. Some of you feel that women are capacitated enough. We now need opportunities to make sure that that capacity can be implemented and be used fruitfully. But others feel that we still need to make sure that there is a concerted effort to educate and to capacitate the women of this country. We are in the majority according to the stats, once again displaying it. We can see there is a lot of effort that went into the development of our communities, but the issue is still poverty, unemployment, and inequality prevails. That is the issue that have been raised. One issue that I think that is very important is that there is consensus on the fact that we support the district development model, but we want government to accelerate the speed within which the district development model is being implemented. Also, one issue that is very close to my heart and that I agree with is the issue of environment, the environmental sector, and how we can make sure that more people benefit from the environmental sector, because the environmental sector is also connected very closely to tourism, and tourism is a change maker. It is a very important sector within the economy. The issue of land availability, a big issue, because I feel even in the charter, they speak about infrastructure, but they don't directly address the issue of land. And I think it's an issue that came out very strongly, but also the issue of agriculture and access to water and resources to make sure that women can participate successfully in the agriculture. And also the fact of the IDPs of municipalities that should not be just documents, but that should be living documents that will make sure that there is implementation of the proposals that are coming from our communities. I think that is the issues more or less that more people address besides gender-based violence, because gender-based violence, femicide, is part of our program. And I think as the country, we are in agreement that more needs to be done to make sure that we address the issue of the violence in society, because we are quite a violent society, and the victims of this violence is more women and vulnerable groups. And that is something that came up here, but also the fact that COVID-19, and it's a very important issue, that one, is presenting more opportunities to make sure, because now also we can even see our government is streamlining delivery within the face of the pandemic. So there is opportunities, and I think Toko Chabalala was the one that mentioned few opportunities, and I think that we can agree with. But also the issue of gender power relations and the unequal representation of women and other groups within decision-making positions. It is something that has been raised. Like I said, I'm not responding. I'm just summarizing our discussions, because we need to develop a report. We need to have a discussion at a high level to make sure that the decision makers understand what is the issues that women are raising, so that they can begin to respond to that issues. With all of that said and done, let me then now express our appreciation and our gratitude to those that really set aside all their programs to be part and parcel of this very important program. Our presenters, our deputy speaker as our partner, as well as our host officials, the office of the deputy speaker, the office of the deputy chairperson, but also the project office of parliament. We want to express our appreciation, and to all those of you that really made this very valuable inputs. I want also to a special word of appreciation to my sister, the gender commissioner. I can see that nothing has changed with regards to your own commitment to make sure that you serve your community. Let us then at this note say, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Remember, we are requesting for weekend lockdowns because of the spread of the pandemic. Let all of us stay safe, wash our hands, and also do physical distancing, and make sure that we survive for the sake of the country and for the sake of tomorrow that should be a better day. Nangomso. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, my dear.
Bye. Bye.
Bye, Sisoli.
Bye, Connie. How are you,
Bye-bye.
Connie?
Bye, Bebuloy.
Bye-bye.
Nomshe, Jani.
Bye-bye, Sylvia.
Next week we are in the Free State again. Okay.
You're welcome, Jesper. Welcome.
Taki is on it. Taki, that's it. That's it.
Aye.
That's Sandy.
What is needed. Wear face mask. Keep sanitizing your hands. Maintain social distance. This is the absolute minimum requirement for all of us.
Ha o ka seka mare ka wena.